hey guys, welcome to Freaking Epic Podcast. I'm Zach.
I'm John.
Oh, yeah, and we're going to ask the immortal age-old question. The question, what you thinking, John?
See, so I've been thinking about this for a little bit because I've been rereading some mangas and watching animes, and it's made me think of who is the best supporting character, and not in a way that's like, for example, One Piece, not like Zoro, where he's basically a main character in his own right, but like someone who's doesn't really fight, or if they do fight, it's not like an important fight or anything like that. So like further with the One Piece, like Usopp would be one of those characters where he's important to the story, but he never really participates too much in like combat or things like that. And when he does, it's not against anyone who's like really dangerous.
Everyone clearly understands that he's kind of a backup guy. He's never going to be the one who saves the day.
Right.
Or I guess he could save the day, but he's just you never go who will save the day, and you never go, you know what, I bet Usopp will show up.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that is who would you say is the best supporting character or your favorite? So rules are cannot participate in battle or very small scale battles that isn't really important to the story.
Okay, so does my initial response is, does Krillin count?
Oh man, I would say
because here's the thing. Here's why he's my favorite. Because he is Usopp powered. He is wildly outmatched in literally every arc of Dragon Ball.
Mm-hmm.
But he still saves the day and shows up like all the other guys, Tenshin and little Pokemon guy, all them they quit showing up. But he continually shows up even though he's wildly outmatched.
Oh yeah, and later on in like Dragon Ball Z, he retires, or Dragon Ball whatever the one is after
Super.
Z. Super, yeah. He's retired. He doesn't fight anymore.
But doesn't he still do some stuff?
I think it's mostly Android 17 takes his place as far as combat goes.
Well, that is tragic. My favorite thing is the fact that that's why he's my kind of go-to favorite supporting character, is because I really like the fact that he knows he's going to lose, and he knows he's just wildly outgunned, and he still saves the day constantly just by showing up and doing whatever he can.
Okay, so then who would be someone who doesn't participate in any fights whatsoever? Like who
doesn't
would that
participate in any fights whatsoever?
Yeah. So for me, I would have to say that's Winry Rockbell from Full Metal Alchemist. Like, being the love interest, yeah, sure, whatever, but like being his mechanic and being a great character who's had like solid character development throughout the entire story. Like Winry is pretty up there as far as like supporting characters go.
Okay, here's an admission. I have never actually watched more than 3 episodes of Full Metal Alchemist.
What? Zach!
Wow. You were so shocked that the recording cut out for a moment.
How have you? What?
I'm sorry to break your mind like that. I enjoyed it. I also haven't watched like Attack on Titan. They just weren't quite my jam.
Zach Harris, my brother.
I'm sorry. I have a thing in life that I do, which is I try to know all the things that other people won't, because it does me no good to know what's happening in Game of Thrones or Breaking Bad. Like, no one's going to be impressed by that. They're going to be impressed, in my mind. It's probably almost certainly not true, but in my mind, they're going to be impressed if I know something no one else knows. So I don't waste my time. Well, actually, that's not true. I watch like TV shows, comedies that everyone knows, but also I don't do a ton of drama.
Oh my god! All right,
all my stuff is.
What about have you seen Code Geass?
Nope. I I know what the plot is. I know who made it.
See,
I know.
that's like that would be my second follow-up character. Would be Shirley from Code Geass.
Okay, tell me about her.
Like, so basically, she's another one of the characters, the main character's kind of love interest. But the whole plot of Code Geass is that America takes over a third of the world, basically.
Okay.
But they change their name to the Britannian Empire and stuff like that. Okay. But so it's very intellectual in the sense of kind of like how Death Note is very intellectual.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
That's
what I read.
It's both. Well, it's like Code Geass, or it's like Death Note meets Gundam. That's how I would describe Code Geass, I guess, in a sentence.
That's a good description.
But basically, she is. So the main character, he is this giant terrorist guy, who is going about trying to destroy Britannia. But being a terrorist and trying to topple an empire, the main character is becoming like less and less human. But she is his high school friend who just kind of keeps him grounded. And then when she eventually dies, spoiler alert. When she eventually dies, it is a huge like shock to his system, and it just like goes so far to his downfall.
Oh, I imagine it like throws him off his rocker, and he starts doing really dangerous, dumb things.
He goes, I don't know. It's been a minute, but from what I remember, he goes pretty fanatical in his goals, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she is another good kind of follow-up character.
Okay, so spoiler alert, guys. This is one that John told me about beforehand. So I have written a list of just all these supporting characters I could think of that I really enjoy. However, now I'm realizing you're talking like in fighting movies and stuff. You're not talking about Uncle Joey and Uncle Jesse in Full House, because that's one of the things I wrote.
I mean, that works too. Or like, let's see here, Barney from How I Met Your Mother.
So that I thought about that, but I think he counts as a main character. Like,
actually,
he's
yeah,
main enough.
After I said that, I was like, oh yeah, he is kind of a main character. He has his own like growth, but if he wasn't, he would definitely be on the list.
Oh, for sure, yeah. That was one of the biggest things I had a problem with. I tried to pick only people who I felt were enough of a support or kind of background character that they weren't cheating. Like,
I got it.
Okay.
Ted from Scrubs.
Which one is Ted? I've only watched
the lawyer.
3 episodes of Scrubs.
He's the lawyer. Wait, no, you won't understand how fantastic he is if you've only watched 3 episodes. Watch Scrubs, goddammit.
I'm sorry. Okay, the thing with Scrubs is it requires you to pay a lot of attention. So a lot of the shows I watched, like when I used to work for Fox 21, I would be prepping shows for the next day. And when I prepped shows, I just had to look for black and kind of make sure the audio was still going. And so I was mostly just fast forwarding through shows, like keeping my eye on them, making sure they worked. So let's say like that 70s show or Big Bang Theory, something like that, I could kind of half watch while doing my work. And so Scrubs, I tried doing that, but you can't half watch Scrubs. If you're not like watching the screen every moment intently, it is not a show that works.
Okay. Fine. What about, let me think.
Here's one that is right on the verge of main character, but could be considered a supporting character.
Okay.
Charles Barkley. in the NBA shows, he's always kind of Ernie's sidekick, but he's Charles Barkley. He's one of the most memorable side characters of all time.
Well, clearly not memorable enough, because I no idea who you're talking about.
You don't know who Charles Barkley is?
Clearly not.
Wow. Okay,
so you have no right to wow me, Zach.
Don't even know.
It's 2-1 right now.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
All right. What about?
You should just look up Best of Charles Barkley. He's in one of the maybe top 50 best NBA players of all time. Maybe like probably closing in on top 30. And when he doesn't care, he just says all sorts of nonsense stuff on the air. It's hilarious. Highly recommended.
All right, fine. I'll check it out. You have to have watched The Office.
Yeah, I finally watched it for the first time last year.
Okay, I would say that Creed from The Office.
Yeah, I think he's a perfect example of someone who's like a background character.
Definitely not a main character. Well, I mean, I guess Winry and Krillin could be counted as main characters, though.
They're within the realm of main characters. Creed is definitely a supporting character.
Mm-hmm.
In that vein, also, what's his name? Stanley. Or
yeah. And I liked Oscar too.
Yeah, I think all three of those count as well. That show just is kind of a show where all the characters have something to do.
Yeah. Okay. Did you watch Stranger Things?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Would you count Steve as a side character or a main character?
I had that on my list to ask.
Yes,
we did it. We did it. We did the podcast. We agreed on something. We agreed.
Ha. But yeah, because Steve, I love Steve more than I like most of the characters in that show.
Yeah. Steve is amazing
because he just ends up being kind of the douchey boyfriend to being like team mom. Like he's just the mom of all the little kids, and it's perfect. And honestly, I like Steve as a character infinitely more than I like Jonathan as a character. Like as far as the sister goes.
Yeah.
What's her name? Nancy. As far as Nancy goes, like at least Steve cared about like her well-being, did everything for her. She was the one who pushed him away to go be with a creepy guy who everyone wanted. Like he's just creepy.
He is. His heart's in the right place, but I think
he was built up to be. So it was built up to be like a one of those high school movies where the nerd gets the girl in the end.
Yeah, of course.
And that's how they built him up. And it's wrong because Steve was just so infinitely better. Like Steve wasn't actually like a bad guy.
Oh yeah, but the thing is, he wasn't necessarily. I mean, what I can say is he wasn't necessarily like you didn't need him to wind up with Nancy. He's going to wind up with someone awesome, and Nancy wasn't necessarily like a perfect fit for him.
Yeah,
he just thought she was cute and was dating her. Like I don't know
like
that there's
Steve deserves better than Nancy. Like straight up, they did my boy Steve dirty.
Well, okay, so the thing about Steve, you remember the guy in the second season, the kind of the jerk with the leather jacket and all that, the bad guy.
Yeah, the guy who took Steve's place in the first season.
Yeah, well, when they wrote the show, they actually wrote Steve to be that character.
Oh, interesting.
Like, they wrote Steve to be that character, but as they kept filming, they were just like, we just like this guy so much. So they just kept
develop him into a bad guy.
They just kept shifting his story arc until he became a good guy because they're like, but he's Steve. We love Steve. He can't be the bad guy. So they just kept kind of writing him away from the bad guy role.
And had to bring in a whole another character to fill in the role that they wanted him for. That's kind of hilarious.
Yeah, it's awesome. I really enjoyed seeing that, and I thought the other guy did a good job.
Oh
too.
Yeah, he was perfectly despicable.
Yeah,
like that's how I feel with. That's why I feel bad for the actor for Joffrey in Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah.
Because he quit acting because he got so much heat for being Joffrey.
Yeah.
That like people couldn't separate the character from him.
And that's the thing. He should have kept acting and just taken roles that kind of slowly paced and led people out. So basically, take a bad guy role, but a little less whiny, awful, petty, nasty bad guy, and then take another bad guy role where you kind of get some redemption in the end, and then take a bad guy role where you actually become a good guy halfway through the movie, and then by then you've basically programmed people away from thinking you're always a bad guy because you've just kind of you've built that. Like people always mess with or used to mess with Jason Alexander for Pretty Woman because he tried to rape Julia Roberts, and people would just come up on the street like, how dare you do that to Julia Roberts?
Right.
But they don't do that as much anymore because you have to just lead people away from that. If you have a role like that, you can't just run away. You have to pace and lead them. You have to agree with what they like, show them what they're seeing, and then just kind of veer away slightly until you're facing the opposite direction.
Yeah, but that takes patience, and I don't know. It's just like it takes sheer willpower to be able to like. And don't get me wrong, I understand like what you're saying, but I also understand his decision. It was like, yeah, dude, if you can't hack it, or not hack it, that seems.
If you can't take it.
If you can't take it, there we go. You know, don't put yourself into a situation where you're going to be constantly shit on.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay,
you're making me edit stuff out.
Oh, don't edit out swear words.
We've established a PG-13 rating. I guess that's fine in PG-13.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Well, in PG-13, we're allowed one use of the word f***, so there we go.
Now I have to edit that out.
No, I already used the one word. It's fine. We're good. We're good. As long as we don't say it anymore, we don't have to edit any of them out.
All right. So, speaking of anime, I do have a side anime character who does fight, but isn't in kind of like I think he definitely fits the definition of side character. He's one of my favorite characters. I just really, really enjoy this guy.
All right, go.
Merman Man.
Merman Man.
That's his name. That's his name in the Japanese version. In America, I think they translate it to Bike Hero.
Oh, he's Bike Guy from One Punch Man.
Yeah, Bike Guy.
Yeah, he's perfect. He is actually perfect because he definitely embodies, you know, what it is to be a hero, even against, you know, unbeatable odds.
Oh yeah, he's literally just a dude riding around on a bicycle fighting monsters, like helmet and everything because he needs the helmet, and but he still just kind of keeps showing up and just fighting monsters that no one else is even willing to fight.
Right? That's super good. Like, I didn't even think about that. Ooh.
Every time I read that manga, every time he comes on, I'm like nearly crying. Like, it's so manly. He's
the best. Oh.
He's just getting trounced, but he's like, well, I got to show up. I'm a hero.
I mean, yeah, that's exactly the right way of looking at that. Of like, he shows up because he's a hero. He knows he's gonna lose, but he still tries his best no matter what, and that's perfect.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter. And that's kind of, I think, what's the most my favorite character for most of my life has been Spider-Man, and I think that's kind of one of the core ideas about Spider-Man is he really understands how much being a hero costs him. And like a lot of characters are like, oh, I'm a hero, it's awesome. But I really enjoy characters who really kind of seem to understand how much they're giving up and how bad things could be and how, you know, hard the world is. But then they just kind of stand up in defiance and say, I'm doing it because I have to.
Well, yeah, and Zach, you like Spider-Man for the same reason I like Spider-Man, because Spider-Man doesn't use his powers for his own good. He is a struggling, like, post-college kid. Like, yeah, he's super brilliant, but he just doesn't have the ability to get money. Like, he's stuck in the economy. And there was a time in the comic books where after the brain swap, right, with Dr. Ock, and Doc Ock was in Spider-Man's body, and he punched the guy, and blew up his head or something,
No,
ridiculous like that.
he just kind of knocked his jaw half off.
Oh, right.
He attacked I forget which bad guy it was, but it was in the it was maybe in the raft or one of those prison islands. But he punched the guy and he's just so shocked. He was like, I can't believe this body's been holding this much power. That means every single time I fought him, he's been holding back so he didn't hurt me. It was
Right.
like he's just so shocked. Doc Ock was so shocked that Spider-Man was so much more powerful than he ever even suspected.
Right. And that's, just goes to show how awesome and humble Spider-Man is, because he has all of this power. Like, he would be an incredible supervillain, but he just does what he does for the sake of being good.
Yeah, because with great power comes great responsibility.
Exactly. It's such a good, such a good character arc, character development,
And I think
character motivations.
The thing about the bike hero is with sometimes just with great decision comes great responsibility. If you decide that you have taken something on, then you do it, even if you don't know how you're going to do it day in, day out. Even if you know you're not up to the task, you do it because you've decided these people are your responsibility, and you take the responsibility seriously. I really appreciate characters in literature, media that do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really cool. We're talking about super cool characters. Like, there's just so many good characters out there who aren't even like the main character. Like, what?
I was actually thinking we should probably. I still have like 50 more written down that I.
Okay. Let's go through your list.
Well, I was just going to say we could do maybe one of these every other week for 3 or 4 until we've gone through them, because there's so many good supporting characters.
Okay,
so we'll go through a few more for today, but then like just kind of save up the rest.
Give me like your top 5 on your list that you think right now.
Well, Krillin is just my personal favorite, just because everyone hates him, but he's such a brave dude. Let's see. I mean, this one isn't my favorite, but I think the most obvious the most obvious side character, as far as I would say, this is number 1 in becoming a phenomenon, even though they aren't a main character, and just purely because of looks. Boba Fett.
Boba Fett.
He basically does nothing in the entire. He just kind of hangs out and like almost does nothing in the entire movies. But there are like hundreds of books written about him. He's in like I used to read a bunch of Star Wars books and Star Trek books when I was younger. I've probably read 400 Star Trek books and probably 100 Star Wars books. And Boba Fett was at least mentioned in probably at least a third, maybe even half of the Star Wars books.
Okay.
Even though in the movies he's not even there, really.
Yeah, he doesn't even do anything.
He doesn't.
He delivers. Yeah, he delivers Han Solo to Jabba the Hutt, but he isn't even the one who like pulls the carbonite lever.
Yep.
Yeah, no, you're right. He doesn't do anything. Like, as soon as you said it, I was like, huh, you're right.
Yeah, he's just kind of there.
Right?
But he's so awesome that everyone loves him, and he comes up in just about everything else.
Okay, give me another one.
Okay, give you another one. This one we're going way back. Okay, so do you remember the lady who's in every Marx Brothers movie?
Jeez. Yes.
Yeah,
vaguely.
the big lady.
Yeah,
She's in like not literally every movie, but she's in like 70% of Marx Brothers movies, and she's always hilarious. And she just sets up every joke so well. She's like the perfect comic foil. And I would say that's the lady who she's just incredible, because she really draws out the comedy of especially Groucho, but also the Harpo and
Harpo,
and
Zeppo, and Chico. Yeah, Zeppo
Yeah.
doesn't really do much funny stuff though.
The thing is, Zeppo was actually supposedly just as funny as the other guys, but the problem is his style of humor was almost the same as Groucho's, so they didn't want to have the overlap. And also, the fifth Marx brother was supposed to be Gummo was supposed to be just as funny as well, but again, he just
overlapping.
didn't want to be. So I think he wound up being like a mattress salesman or something. But the lady I'm talking about is named Margaret Dumont.
Okay.
And wait, okay, I just pulled her up on IMDb, and this is my new favorite thing that I've ever seen. Apparently, according to her bio in IMDb, she actually legit never understood on screen she never understood why their jokes were funny. Off screen, she still never understood why they were funny. So she never actually understood any of their jokes, which is why she's always like, because she legitimately didn't understand what they were saying in real life.
Oh, that's funny.
And that actually segues into another one, another character who doesn't understand why they're funny. And the actor has said on multiple occasions that they don't understand why their character is funny, which is why they're one of the funniest characters ever. It's Adam West in Family Guy.
Really?
Yeah, he said, like, the directors or producers or something were saying one day that he just went, "Oh, I think this is why it's funny," like, and was wrong, I think. So he actually had just, him and Margaret Dumont never really fully understood why they were funny. And
I gotcha. That's actually, that kind of gives a lot of credence to Adam West's character in Family Guy. Like, that makes so much more of his character makes sense now. If he just truly doesn't understand what's going on, both in and out of character.
He understands what's going on. He just doesn't understand why it's funny. So he's just being straightforward.
I gotcha. Well, I've got a good character who isn't necessarily, like, doesn't know what's going on, but doesn't really care, I guess.
Okay.
And that would be Luna Lovegood from Harry Potter.
Oh yeah, Luna Lovegood's. Yeah, she's a great like, side character, and she kind of hits your limitations on the for a supporting character, because she does kind of fight and is involved in some of the main things, but she's never really a full main character.
Yeah, they never have her take the foreground.
Yeah.
But no, like, I really like her as a, like, supporting character because she is just the friend who doesn't treat Harry like he is, God's gift to the earth.
Yeah.
And a lot of and I feel like that's something Harry really needed in, as far as character development goes, is someone not mentioning how special he is, that he's the chosen one.
Well, because even kind of Ron and Hermione, like, they don't bring it up all the time, but they still, like, Ron clearly notices it, and Hermione may not always care, but she clearly knows what's going on. So that is a good point, that Luna just doesn't really care.
Well, it's not even, like, with Ron and Hermione, what they're doing is that like, they're always involved in the, like, Harry's plans or Harry's whatever. They're always well aware of what they need to be doing to fix things. But Luna's like, nah, let's go talk about these invisible trolls who live in my shoes that steal my athlete's foot. And Harry's like, hell yeah, let's talk about that. Foot. Yep. Well, it's just like random things, and Harry definitely needed that at some point. He needed a release from everything that he was getting caught up in, and Luna provides that for him perfectly, because she just doesn't really care about him. She just wants to talk about.
She doesn't care about him as an idea. She cares only about him as a person.
Exactly.
I feel like that's probably something a lot of real life celebrities deal with. Like, it's probably incredibly refreshing to find someone who just doesn't really care about them as an idea, as a celebrity. They just are like, are you a person that I like?
Mm-hmm. I gotcha. That works perfectly.
So I did also have someone from Harry Potter, but I actually picked an even
More
fringier
obscure.
characters. Well, not more obscure, probably more well known, but I went with Fred and George.
Oh yeah, Fred and George definitely, because they also fill out that role with
Yeah.
Harry of not caring that he's the chosen one. They just screw around, play pranks on him, and just go about their business and have fun.
They
Like
essentially treat him as though he's just their little brother's best friend. So they just treat him the way any big brother would treat their, maybe slightly funnier, but like just any good big brother would treat their little brother's friends.
right, and that's super, super good characters to have, because as the books and as the movies are going on, um, I hated watching movies because it just got so dark. Like the lighting, the everything was just super dark. But whenever they were on screen, it was very well done. Where they literally lit up the screen whenever they were on,
Yeah,
when they
they
were
were
shown,
just
and
a
they
light in
were
the darkness.
exactly, and that's exactly what the series needed. Um, they're
One of my favorite quotes, I'm probably gonna butcher it, but it was by Jim Henson, and he said, it's not that, he's talking about the Muppets, and he's like, it's not that we don't understand that the world's a dark and hard place that will, do a lot of damage to you if you let it. It's that, the reason I created these characters is because I wanted to say, yes, the world is a dark and hard place, but you know what? Instead of becoming dark and hard and angry ourselves, we're going to defy it by singing and dancing and telling jokes. Like, I really like that. I mean, that wasn't even, I didn't even come close to quoting it, but
mhm,
basically the idea that there's a real defiance in joy. Like, you don't have to create humor that's sarcastic and mean and angry, and you don't have to become angry and dark and bitter yourself because the world is such a hard, cruel place. You can look at that hard, cruel place and say, you know what this world needs? It needs a prank store.
right.
Like just the way kind of Fred and George do.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. They are just joy. Like they
Yeah,
are joy incarnate. And even when like they don't really show it, I guess, but even after um Fred or George or whichever one of them dies, the other one keeps on going on
yeah.
with their joke store, because like he knows as much as like he is hurting, everyone else is hurting too, and that his brother would have wanted them to keep bringing smiles to everyone's faces, and that's such good characters.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. So let me we'll end today's one with one more. Do you mind
Okay.
if I give you one more?
Not at all.
Okay. This one is a bit of tribute, but one of my favorite minor character is Stan Lee
Stanley.
because he's in every Marvel movie as a minor character,
Oh, I mean,
as a supporting
yeah,
character, and he kind of like is the theme. He like supports it by
by
like
his presence,
by his
I guess.
presence, by running through just his presence running through every movie. So it kind of reminds you that in the real world he did
Hmm.
create, obviously it might remind you, but in the real world he did create all this stuff,
Right.
and it's just really cool to have a supporting character that just reminds you every time you see him that there's a bigger world, that more things have been created and can be created, will be created.
Right. So I heard something interesting actually. Have you seen
Uh-huh.
Endgame yet?
Yeah.
Spoilers for everyone who hasn't seen Endgame yet, but they're actually having um, planning for Stan Lee's cameo
Uh-huh.
to be old Captain America.
Well, I heard that on a meme. Like I think I posted that meme, but you mean
That was
like in
like
post
actually
pro?
that was actually a plan for what they were going to have Stanley's cameo be. However, they didn't do it because they thought it would be too confusing for fans.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense. So do you think in like the home release they'll do that?
Maybe. I don't know. Like, I think it would be interesting for Stan Lee's character in all the movies to actually be, Chris Evans to be Captain America.
To be Captain America, redoing, fixing the timeline.
Right. I think that'd be super interesting.
I like that. I mean, the long-term theory is that he's one of the Watchers. I think in Guardians 2, he was actually like on a planet or on an asteroid with the Watchers in the back in his cameo.
Yeah, he was talking with the Watchers.
Yeah.
All right. A
lot of good side characters.
There were a lot of good ones, and thinking that we could probably. Yeah, we could definitely drag this on over several weeks, dude. Like, because I'm already thinking of like 4 or 5 more.
Well, I've got them written down. So why don't we just do this like every other week for the near future until we run out of awesome side characters?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
All right, thank you guys for listening to the Freakin' Epic podcast. Let us know what supporting characters you want to see or you want to hear in the future episodes, and if we like them, we'll put them in. Thanks for listening, guys.
All right, love you all. You're beautiful human beings. Bye-bye.